just scrimming for the finals. That was it. That's all they were doing, and Gen.G gonna do the same. Like, yeah, it's crazy that they're that successful actually, right, Niptra? Knowing that, of course, they have 2 newer additions, and despite that, they're looking really good. Their synergy was on point. Sure, they played a little bit split this previous game at the ending in that compound, but man, Gen.G impressing me a lot after what they did in Mina.
Yeah, and that quick flick by Quick over for the last Alim, right, to win the match is really, really impressed me as well. So definitely some big skill coming in here. I'm just so surprised that they didn't even scrim with him. That level of synergy with hardly playing with your 2 new players is unheard of. Really, really great stuff at PMGC of all places.
That's how you get it done, guys. You know, you got to be able to perform when the time comes here. You got to be able to settle those nerves and hit those shots. We got the first match of Erangel coming up right here, right now. Match number 2. Let's take it out over to John and Blake.
Absolutely banging to get into this Erangel. We are gonna be absolutely on for a treat, I'm sure. From the northwest side of the map, as we head on over Zaki, nobody dropping out yet because the plane path hasn't opened its doors over towards Milter Power. Blank. It was a pretty messy close down, I think, to say the least, over that last match. But Gen.G are getting straight back into it. They're out the plane path almost immediately.
I think the guys on the desk are right. Is that Mina has been doing very, very well, right? I think maybe I'm slightly harsh on Gen.G. I think they've been doing fairly well. There is just some worrying moments for me is all. I do want the team to succeed. It's just a case where I look at some of those plays and I'm like, that's going to lose you a final position if that continues over the rest of today and into day 3. It's just some of the things that I want to see shored up. But not to say, because like I think also Oju said it quite well, is that Ego's push from Wolves, that was also pretty silly in those moments. I think that whole end game, like you say, John, was fairly messy. But we'll see what Gen.G can get done. So far, it's been pretty successful. I think their biggest strength right now is getting towards that late game as a 4-man. They are very, very good at navigating some of these rotations, some of these circles. I think it's some of that decision making towards the end game that could be doing with shored up. And it's obviously said because they're coming off 2 chicken dinners. I want teams to succeed, so I try and figure out where the problems are. That's what I'm doing.
Well, that's hey, it's kind of what you're paid for, a little bit. Doc, though, hoping to get paid for the bounty on Bond's head as he goes for the Serpentine, but ends up sticking it into a barrel. Not ideal, as Bond now able to get into a building, and that's going to be APG diverting. You don't want to stick around too long. You don't want to waste too much time, especially when you don't have a weapon. And inside that building, you know there's going to be one found. So get out of there for APG. They'll be moving on, trying to stay safe. You can hear those bullets already pinging off the back tire.
I will say it was pretty bold of Bond to try and knife Doc whilst he was in the vehicle. I don't know if he caught that, but as he swung past him on the side, he actually tried to go for the slice of the Doc in the front seat. I mean, you get what you got to get done there. I mean, any little damage helps. Also, we go over towards Lipovka. Quite a empty circle to start things off here. D+ just towards the south side of Rozhok. And for D+, some of those rotations have been a little awkward at times, but again, they are fixing mistakes. They are improving, but they need to get way more points now towards the end of the day to try and see themselves in towards the top 3. Main point contention right now is just not to be down towards the bottom of the tables. That bottom 5 will be going out right now. It is OG, Falcons, GS, Reject, as well as Team Secret, who are in danger at the moment. And to be honest with you, for OG, right, a lot of the rotations are pretty slick, right? And I definitely wouldn't hesitate to say again, this is probably some of the best rotations we've seen from India as a region in a long while. Their issue just lies in firepower. That's it. That's really, I think honestly, in terms of international performance, rotation-wise, getting into a strong position, OG's great here. Really, really good. It's that confidence game in the 4v4s where they're kind of lacking on right now. I think most people have said it quite clearly online, which is a case of that 4v4 firepower is the thing holding them back. What I don't see a lot of is people's praising them for the smart gameplay and strong rotations coming out from the squad, which is a little frustrating for me, honestly. Because I do think that there's now like a lot of hope being put on True Rippers over in Group Red. And the idea is that their firepower is going to be the thing that carries them through. But yeah, I think it is undeniable that OG right now have some of the best rotations. In fact, the best rotations coming out of India in almost forever.
I mean, yeah, it seems like it's much more mature than obviously the earlier days of within the PUBG Mobile scene when India had their sort of region there. But certainly since their reintroduction to the PMGC ecosystem, the PMWC ecosystem as well, it's looking a lot better. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to find too much success in this group so far, but there is still more games to play, and hopefully those rotations can be brought to bear for them.
On the other hand, I mean, your Falcons underneath them, you are a star-studded squad. And right now, they don't look like that. The stars are missing. It is a completely empty sky for the Falcons. And although you'd think that would mean they could fly clear and free, not the case. Something's stifling them at the moment. Ralph said it was some of those initial rotates which they are struggling on. And already they had a much better performance over on Rondo in terms of early game, but they need some more of that.
that position that OG hold right now, a little bit of a command spot over the Yaz fields, leaving it to the south may be a bit tricky. Maybe they want to keep more presence across some other areas. They don't want to regroup fully onto it. Leaving it entirely, I'm not sure. That would allow a team like Team Secret, allow a team like Team Secret to fly on in past that Yaz bridge, leaving down from the north side and get a very valuable spot. So I think they want to keep that one under control.
Yeah, it's a very difficult circle, this one. With the Yaz Lake on the north side, Yaz Fields as well, you have a lot of space that is sort of unavailable to play. And for most teams, they're not even thinking about playing over towards the northwest side of this circle either. So you're cramming a lot of teams into a very small area. I think this is one of the maps where, stage 3, you're probably going to see 3 or 4 teams go down there.
Looks like Wolves have found the east point of Rozhok. They have condensed onto it under the purview of loops, but they do have to potentially march a little bit further east. Good access out to the east rotate paths, though, for Wolves, and maybe actually cutting loops off a little bit, with the Falcons a little bit further out as well. Loops have fewer options than they once did. GS, they're moving in from the south side to the east of Pachinki over Potato Hill, but they've got Genji ahead of them, and they've got APG behind them, Blank. So a difficult hilltop to hold in that sort of scenario.
APG rotating far on the south. I think for APG, they could remain in transit for quite a while. They could even wait until stage 3 before they really make a big move, because then you can make a big swing. And I think at this point in time where you're on the outside of the circle anyway, it's unlikely you're finding a strong position in the circle at this point, where, like we said before, there's a massive amount of area that's cut out in this zone. And so many squads have already picked basically the map clean of pole positions. Alter Ego, though, I don't mind their spot on the south side of Yaz Fields. It'll keep them alive for quite some time. For them, it is a case of trying to catch up now. With Gen G hitting second place, 65 points, it has been a tremendous and speedy approach towards the top side of the table.
It just goes to show you the volatility in general that we've been talking about, right? It has allowed them to do this, right? Because of what APG did yesterday, because there was this very, very flexible tables Genji have been able to slingshot themselves up. That will start to happen less and less as we isolate in. A big shift out to the west, though. Let's talk about this, because we're going back to school. We're going back to apartments. The hills to the south, the position that Wolves had taken control of early on the east of Rozhok. That's going to be really valuable for them as well. We're moving away from those Yaz fields, too.
Yeah, I think for Falcons, this is kind of their time, right? It was interesting because I think yesterday Junior was saying on the broadcast from the Indo scene that honestly, the fact of the matter was that Falcons don't really know how to play from Pachinki in some of those initial rotates. And I sort of agree with him. I think that because they are sort of center, sometimes they kind of flub the initial rotate from that position. So it's always interesting to get the opinions from the other broadcast talent. I don't understand where they're coming from, what they think, and especially for us who've watched Falcons for quite a while, John. We cover their region as well. It's nice to have some outside input.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to have a fresh set of eyes. Nico, not feeling super fresh though himself. As Papa Supermassive lose one to the Gen G roll down as they continue to make their approach towards this next circle from Potato Hill. And of course, they already in it from that south side, but maybe they want to establish themselves more with APG breathing down their neck. Can't blame them. Reject, hoping to have a little bit better of a rotational set than last match. With Alter Ego right there, that's going to be very tricky.
Let's get a move on, but already a lot of shots raining down on them. Just have to get away. No divine intervention this game. I'll just have to send off into the distance. There's D plus down towards the southeast side, though. I think the main feature here is that barren land over towards the eastern side of apartments and school, where a lot of teams are going to kind of struggle to play in. If this continues to go dead center, you sort of have that one singular tiny compound towards the middle of the map here, which is going to become a very, very useful position. Right now, it's kind of rubbish. It's kind of rubbish. Not many teams want to play it, but if we do keep heading center, you will see teams start to fight over that position, and specifically on the eastern side of apartments. A lot of times with those circles, you can see 2 or 3 teams playing apartments towards the end game.
That's potential to get a little bit chock-a-block in that zone. We'll see where the next circle's going, though. About 10 seconds away from finding out. E+, holding out on the southeast side. Still fending off people in the area. And that's a bold flex out from Satan there for Gen G. He's just going to get punished, and it's not going to be happy. A north side shift here, though, Blank. And the Wolves just keep getting happier. OG as well on the north side. Team Secret, who felt like maybe they'd have to move probably about in the last 3 circles. Again, can go a little bit slower, but their approach is still very much difficult.
Supermassive making a quick rotate out. That's from the south side, trying to pass by Gen G. And currently under the purview of GS. Now for the Falcons, they do have a fairly decent position right now, yeah, but I think they need to regroup. I think they absolutely need to regroup. This is a big old test for Narvalo here. Cannot quite find the second. Cohen needs to be successful on this one.
Oh, does not connect with any of those shotgun shells. And Papra Supermassive, they sweep the leg. The Falcons stayed split too long, and Papra Supermassive all too happy to add those points to their tally. Falcons just disappointing on their performance here. A nade in for Alter Ego, who have crashed into this compound that generally is sort of nigh on unassailable. They haven't got a flush just yet, but Krypton is going to keep the nades rolling. Won't quite connect on this one, and the res is starting to come through now. Rosemary breaching forward, Snake as well. AKOP on the door, they drop the smokes, trying to play a little bit of funny business. As Wiscott stands back up, but an immediate re-knock at his teammate. Alva gets the nade onto the off angle too. Wiscott to the upstairs. AKOP looking to try and stay alive, but they are just falling. Alter Ego handling every fight as they come, and then now it's just Wiscott. A nade on the inside, and he's blasted back by Rosemary's shot to the feet, making him dance.
Great clear from Alter Ego there. I'm still sort of reeling from this, you know. I don't understand why there's not an immediate regroup coming through from the Falcons over towards L block, or regrouping with the 2 players on the northeast side. In my opinion, regrouping on the northeast side would have been a way better scenario to go for. There's very minimal areas to play here. You know that everyone is gonna want a little bit of L block. It's just. It's greedy, but I don't even think it's greedy from Falcons. I think it's just slow, honestly. I think that they're slow to figure out what they want to do next. They don't regroup in time, and by the time they're thinking, maybe we should get back as a 4-man, they're already assailed by other teams. So, yeah, the decision-making needs to be quicker there. Tiamba up against Team Secret. With just one player in A-King left alive. Good shots from him with the S12, but has to reload.
And now it's a 1 versus 1, low HP, sure. Loki dancing around the door frame here in a 1v1 as the fight in the middle actually popping off as well. You can see the picture-in-picture. That's GS crashing in. Gen G have been dismantled in the meantime. Papra Supermassive, they've been there for a while. It's no longer Gen G. It is just that 2-team fight. Papra Supermassive looking to hold off their compound against GS, who very successfully crashed in there.
Nice.
The 1v1 does conclude, though.
Tiamba A-King with the 1v3. That's crazy. But Alter Ego now yet again give him another marker, another challenge to solve. And I think it's very unlikely he gets out of this one alive. Alter Ego will pick up this position for themselves. But well played, A-King. This is Team Secret. Team Secret's having a horrible time of it currently in 16th place. Papra Supermassive right now versus GS. DS3 will find one up the stairs.
They already have done a a lot of damage to Vapor Supermassive. We saw them crash into the remnants of Gem G. We've seen them now take on the majority of Vapor Supermassive. But both Jafar and Icon are down. Shots come through actually from Redox from the Falcons. Even as two, they do still have a very solid central position. And now, oh my goodness me, in a circle. They've just careened into the side that GS took earlier. Maybe they can keep this one going. They have got the 3 players up and in to fight against GS's 3 with Jafar going down to the flush.
For Inner Circle, it's been a long and tumultuous journey to this position, but I think this is the right time to try and assault over towards L Block. You get to the point where, honestly, you see a lot of fights have concluded over here. Finally, things start to die down, and as you hear those final shots ring out, that's when you look to send in. I think it's a smart maneuver from IC. They just need to make sure they conclude this fight for themselves, and I don't think there'll be any more players looking to join in on this one. So it is a great time to try and finish off. IQ moving up with the hovercraft, and now you do share a little bit. D3S on the upstairs building. Double nades in, does find ESO.
Ooh, and now Phylax on the hunt. That's a dangerous place to be in the sidelines, but there's a good hold on the staircase for the first. Hops over, gets the flush immediately, is traded off, but Inner Circle lose another player here, and I wonder if they're aware of Kamikaze on the outside. I don't think they necessarily are. They may have not spotted that one across the way. They rocked up to the fight a little bit later, so maybe Kamikaze allowed to stay alive a little bit longer. As APG struggle on the hilltop, I say struggle, not really. Divine was the last to stand for Reject, and he will fall. That rest should be okay. Will go take an angle to it, though. Are they going to be more preoccupied getting towards that Falcon duo?
Yeah, Doc is obsessed with running players over. Honestly, it's happened, I think, 4 times now. I think he's definitely got the highest amount of vehicle eliminations in the entire game. He's trying to set a little bit of a record or something. Killer Joe underneath. APG, with the 4 players they have playing on this ridge side, they get rid of Go. They have a much better time of it. Though APG actually do struggle versus Go. Go has surprisingly good firepower in the 4v4. Already, though, Rosemary's making things very hard on this angle over towards the north side. Takes down Reefus. And they're penned in. Falak as well on this off angle. APG suffering. And once again, do you know why, John? It is because they do not respect sidelines.
It's the Rosemary sightline, you're right, over towards Falak as well. That really has stalled them in this fight, and now it should be easy pickings for Go to just roll on over. They fall, and they have sort of met their mark of getting about 5 points average per match today so far. They have got a couple on board, maybe a little bit shorter than they would have liked. But now it's the time for Goat to move as the circle pops. We're going north. I mean, this is Alter Ego's time, right? This is their chance to really go for something big here. Post themselves up to maybe even challenge towards that top spot, right? With APG going down on 99, they could get pretty close on this match.
Well, they could. But again, I'm seeing 4 players split across the entirety of the north side. It's worrying. I think it's one of the few times where actually it's pretty good. It does work. There's a lot of positions to play from. Still, they're scared. You know, I would like a slight regroup towards the end game. God, that's frustrating having to expend another nade there. That should do the trick. Snake will take him down. Just see how many nades have still got left. I mean, 3 on Rosemary, so the stocks are still pretty high. 11 elims on the game on an angle is very, very nice. It's just the amount of times they've been in this situation. I feel like Alter Ego could be on a very similar scoreline to APG if they had just regrouped a little earlier in a couple of these matches.
Kamikaze, he sacrifices a lot of his health bar, but he takes the hovercraft that was delivered earlier by Inner Circle. He's going to pop it through, see where he can get a big block in the way of gunfire as well. So he's going to rock forwards. He's just going to play behind it. The nades from IC going to immediately try and take this thing out, go a little bit longer. Kamikaze needs to stay. No, he's not going to do it. Falak plans the nade. Needed more health, needed more healing. A nice idea, but I feel like maybe the buggy not in the blue zone would have been a little bit better.
I mean, you want the maneuverable cover, right? At this stage of the game, having that is great, but in comes Go over towards Falcons, the 2 final players remaining. If they're able to get this 2v4. You know, it's a 4th place. That's actually fairly good in terms of a salvage, but it's not looking likely.
They've taken down one already. Last player for the Falcons. No, last player for the Falcons gone. They will be eliminated in 5th place, but Wolves are actually chiming in. This is a really difficult compound to play with, Blank, but 2 knocks already found towards Go. That is huge. What a pickup. And Wolves are going to storm down the gates. Alter Ego lining up on the north side. All too happy to let this one go through, but he's caught in the corner. Doran is just going to get caught by surprise there for the Wolves, and that's going to be nasty.
Wolves down to 1 player, by the way. And honestly, takes a lot of damage. The 2v4 is real. And Wix and Kraken's able to finish it off. Horrible, sneaky maneuver. The assassin in the corner. It does work out, though. And Alter Ego on their lineup. Again, I think for the Wolves, though, honestly, that was the right time. That was the good call. Is that you want the high ground compound with the walls surrounding it. You hear the third party pop off, and I think you just have to say to yourself, we got to go there. We have to go. So well played to Wolves. Sadly, it doesn't work out. I think Goat just has some extremely good clutch potential in these engagements. IC versus Alter Ego, who are currently very split. I think that they do have the manpower to make this work, though, with only 2 teams with 2 players on side. Not if Snape goes down, though.
Oh, he's just about staying alive. Rosemary is immediately there just in case. I don't think, there's only 2 nades left on side for Inner Circle. Wakes up on the rooftop, able to find the first. The nade from Rosemary steals the Elim away. So going to go into the Goat Bank. And now Falak's left alone. And he will be no more. Rosemary lands another nade. And the 8 nades on side for Alter Ego. The 4 players alive. The 19 smokes. I mean, for Goat, this is a really, really difficult task.
Okay, I'm actually okay with this. They're playing a little slower, right? And they're also playing... They're playing a little bit slower. They're playing 2 and 2, making sure that 1 player is always alive to pick up the other. So there definitely is some considerations to what occurred yesterday. Rosemary on the roof.
Oh, he's immediately catapulted himself up there. I mean, he said they wanted to play it slow. They're changing it. The denial comes on through. All right, okay, go take the points away from Alter Ego's tally. They don't want them to challenge for that first place, but I think that's like a 21, 22, maybe 23-point game for Alter Ego. That's going to put them up in the high 80s, Blank. They're going to be having a good time of things that will put them in the top 3. The question is, how close to APG can they continue to get?
I'm so confused by the denial coming through. It's kind of BM, if I'm honest.